What's up, everybody? This is Tommy McAllister, and welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. Um, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for this episode because I'm gonna share some stuff that I'm vulnerable on, but I'm also gonna share some stuff, some cool things that have been happening in my life. I just love the way God moves in my life, and I'm gonna have some action steps for you guys to be able to take on here. And if you follow those action steps, good things happen. And so I don't want you to be one of those people that listens to this podcast and does not actually put it into play. Because when you put these things into play, good things happen. There's a lot of people who read books, and I was one of them for many years where I would read books and I wouldn't do what it says. But when you read the books and you do what they say, good things happen. When you watch the Instagram videos and you do what they say, good things happen. When you listen to the podcast and you do those things, good things happen. I promise you that. It's about doing the work. But most people these days, they want to be able to take a pill and get their life fixed. But man, ain't nobody want that. That's why I'm against people getting the weight loss surgery. The geriatric. It's not geriatric. That's an old person thing. Bariatric. That's what it is. Surgery. The gastric bypass. That's what it is, right? But reason why I'm against it, right? Like I guess if you're about to die, I get it, because you're missing the journey of you getting that surgery. You're missing the journey of the mental fortitude that you have to lose that weight because you put in the work. And so there's a lot to be said about that journey, but that's a whole nother topic. But I want to challenge people on this. And the cool thing is how many ever people listen to this, if I only get a couple people that actually do the steps, their lives are going to change, and that's good. And I'll know, and that fills me up, even though might not ever hear from you. I'll know in my heart that it changed your life, because these things will. But what you guys don't know, or some of you do know, right? Like, 'cause I'm pretty open about it, is, it's been 20, maybe 21 years ago now. Time's flying. That I cheated on Dianne. She always makes it a point when I say I cheated on my wife. She goes, yeah, but we were only dating at the time. She always likes to bring that up. But whether we were only dating or we were married, it's the same thing. I cheated on her. I broke her trust. Right? I could justify it and say all these reasons. I had so much unworthiness. It wasn't about the sex. I had a father wound. All of these stuff that I could say to justify some of it. It's never justified, but I could give you excuses. So I'm going to skip you guys all of that. But what I'm saying is I broke her trust and I rebuilt it. How could we go from that to where we are now? And I know it's, like I said, 21 years, but it was like quick how fast I rebuilt her trust. I had to do things in my life to prove that I was trustworthy. I had to be consistent, and I had to keep showing up. We split up for 18 months during that time. We both dated other people, and it was a good thing. It was one of the best things that ever happened to us. Dianne says it's the best thing that ever happened to her. And it was to me, because that's when I found God in a lot of senses. I believed in God before that. That's when I really found God and started following God. But with that being said, she thinks it was the best thing. I say the day I died on my bicycle, pretty much died on my bicycle a couple of years ago, was the best day for me. But that one about the cheating could be there pretty close. And it's crazy. They're always hard things. But when she came back, I don't think there was one time that she mentioned to me that I cheated on her, other than when we just would talk about it. And you know the reason why that is? Because I never gave her a reason to bring it up. Whereas most people get things brought up to them in the relationship when the trust is broken. They go, you always remind me of the things. I'm never going to be able to live this down. Well, bro, you can never live that down because you're still being a certain way. Now, let's say it's not cheating that you did, right? And that was, let's say it is cheating that you did, but that you're not still cheating, but you're breaking their trust in other ways. Like you're still, you said you're going to do something, you don't do it. All the little things and the bigger things that you don't do. Let's say you're still being angry, or you're talking bad to them, and all these other things. That right there is giving them a reason to bring up the past. I'm not saying that they should bring up the past, but it's giving them a reason to bring up the past because you're still kind of the same person. But let's say you have that stimulus of cheating, and then from that time that you guys decide to work on things, for me and Diane, it was 18 months. From the moment you decide to work on things, you didn't break character. I'm not saying you're perfect for the rest of your life. You should strive to be perfect for the rest of your life. Absolutely. Because it says in the Bible, we must live like Jesus, and he was perfect. But let's say out of 1 year, there was only one time that you just kind of got like worked up a little bit, but you didn't yell. You didn't scream. You just got kind of like, and she could see you were frustrated, but you didn't say anything. That's not that big of a deal. It's when that becomes regular, once a month, every couple weeks. That's bringing up the old self. But when it may be only one time a year, she's seeing you differently. When you're doing everything you say you're going to do, she sees you differently. When you say you're going to join a men's Bible study and she sees you going and you're not making excuses of why you're not going, when you're like, I don't know, it's been a long day, I'm not going to go, and you go anyways, that builds it. But if you just like, I'm pretty tired, and you don't go, okay, in her mental note, she's like, okay, he's not disciplined. And if she's thinking that or not, it's something that's going into her mind. Then when you say you're going to start going to the gym and you only go a couple days a week and then you eventually fall off, all right, well, then she just knows you're not this trustworthy person. But that goes in all the way we're acting, right? Maybe we're still hanging out with friends when we cheated on them. Maybe we're still doing these other things that we did when we cheated on them. Maybe you're still drinking and you were drunk when you cheated on her. And you're still drinking because you think, well, it's just a couple beers, it's not that big a deal. Oh, it is. Especially to the person that you cheated on when you used being drunk as an excuse, probably. Which is not. It's never an excuse. Never. And believe me, I've been drunk thousands and thousands of times. I understand how it is when you don't have the best of judgment, but still you know what you're doing. 100% of the time, you know what you're doing. So when you remove those things from your life, good things happen. Diane views me at this point that I am at today because I'm a very disciplined person. And honestly, I would have tell you for up until about 3 years ago, Diane I don't say she wasn't disciplined, because she didn't eat junk food or things like that. She just didn't ever do anything that needed discipline. But now she's one of the most consistent, disciplined people in her life, and in my life, literally, more than anybody. I have a professional coach. Guess who's more disciplined? Diane! Hey, you know what? Maybe I should just pay Diane to be my coach. That's a smart idea. But in all realness, so how do we do this, right? Well, when you keep showing up, whether you're tired or you're not, good things happen. I promise you, good things happen. And what I'm going to tell you a couple stories about showing up, and then I'm going to follow this up with some action steps for you that I want you to do. And in 30 days, big things will happen. But it's really going to be around 90 days, and I'll get onto that in a second. When you just keep showing up, you prove to yourself you're a winner. You get to go to the bed at the end of the day feeling like a winner, and you wake up the next morning as a winner. Guess who also sees that you're a winner? Your spouse. Everybody else starts seeing you as that. My kids get to watch their mom and their dad know that they are 100% disciplined in everything they do. So when we talk to our kids and we tell them something, guess what? They can't be like, yeah, but that's what you're not doing. We are. We're disciplined, so they can. They go, you're right. Because we back it up. But I'm going to show you some things of showing up in my life where I didn't feel like it recently. I had a couple cool stories happen. And by just saying yes to these things, good things happened. I had a friend who was really going through it for about 16 months. One of the worst divorces I've seen. His lawyer bills every single month are $50,000. And he's just a good best dude. He is just a good dude. But his wife, not so much. And they were never a client of ours or anything. It's just a friend of our life. And I watched him go through hell. And I was getting really concerned for him. Well, I checked in with him because he lives on the other side of the United States. I checked in with him week prior, and I was like, yo, bro, I'm checking in, how things are going. He's like, not good. And then I checked back in with him. I didn't hear back. And then I think I checked in with him a couple days later. And I didn't hear back. And I was like, oh, man. Well, a few days later, a friend of ours in the same circle said, yo, we need to pray for so-and-so. And that got me worried because we're always praying for each other. And I said, man, okay. Well, here's the thing. It was late. I was tired. I had literally just fallen asleep on the couch, like after work, and I don't ever take naps, but I fell asleep for like 15, 20 minutes. Then I had just went up to my son's room. Dianne was on a coaching call, and I was sitting on the floor playing with my son, and I was tired. I was just emotionally, spiritually, and physically drained. And he said, we need to pray. I'll be real with you. I prayed. It was probably about a 1 out of 10 prayer, maybe a 2 out of 10 prayer. And sometimes I get that spirit moving. And I prayed. Well, that was 8:50 Eastern time for him. I talked to him the next day. He sends us a voice message, actually is what it was. But then I talked to him a couple of days later, and he breaks down the story. He said he was in a dark place because he had his wife was lying so much that the kids got taken away from him. And he was just in a dark, dark spot. And it looked like the judge was going to take him until the case was over, which was going to be about 6 months. He was going to court for it the next morning to find out if that was going to happen. Well, he said, guys, I was in the worst dark place. You guys know 16 months of just fighting, and now my kids are taken away. He said at 9 o'clock last night, the gates of heaven opened up, and literally everything. Her lawyers contacted my lawyers and said she's been lying to them. And what lawyers would do that? They all know their clients are lying to them, but they did. The people that were supposed to testify against him actually lawyered up and said they were going to testify for him. The cops came out with some paperwork that proved all of his stuff that she was lying about was not true, that the kids had testified for him. And it was just one thing after another. Words. 10 minutes after I decided to pray, I didn't feel like showing up. I didn't feel like praying. I said a pretty poor prayer. But God used because I showed up in that moment. I'm not saying this prayer was because of me. I'm saying because I showed up. That it changed his life. But now I've been able to share this testimony with clients. I've been able to share it with my wife. Do you think she sees me still showing up? Absolutely. But here's another thing about showing up. One of the features that we use for coaching our clients is this app called Voxer, where you can voice message back and forth with each other. I don't check my messages usually past 8 o'clock at night, usually maybe even 7. For some reason at 10 o'clock one night, I decided to check it. And it was from a client. Well, here's the thing. The day before, when my friend told me he was at his breaking point and the gates of heaven opened up at 9 o'clock, 10 minutes after I prayed, he said breaking point. This person in their message to me said, I'm at my breaking point. He was in the hospital doing very bad. He had just done some dumb things in his life. And I picked up the phone and I voice messaged him and I preached the word of God over him, gave him some encouragement, and I was talking about some scripture. He said, man, he's kind of newer to his faith. He said, I think I have a Bible out in my car. He literally, with the IVs and stuff, went out to his car, got his Bible, went back in. He did the magic 8-ball thing, flipped his book or the Bible open, and it landed on a page where I was just preaching over to him those exact same words. What's the odds? So I decide to show up again, and he decides to reach out and show up. Good things happen. Well, then 1 week later, I have one of the biggest coaches in the U.S. staying at my house. It's a wild testimony on how she came into my life. Wild. But here's the thing. She wasn't a believer of God, like a little bit of a believer of God, but more like spiritual, universal. And when she first reached out to us almost a year ago, she said, I was just needing some God in my life. And since then, I've seen just a little bit of movement. Well, she's staying at my house, and we just have the most phenomenal conversations. I've only known her for a year, but when she's came out twice, this is the second time, we have the most phenomenal conversations. But it's like one of the last nights she was here, and she'd already been here for 3 nights. Dianne tells me earlier in the day, hey, so-and-so, I'm not going to tell you her name, but says, she kind of revealed to me what was really going on in her life and what she's really struggling with that she didn't open up to us about the other day. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, she wants to talk to you about it tonight. I said, okay. Well, all of a sudden, I get really, really tired again. I'm like, what is going on with this tired thing? Well, I'm sitting there in this chair. It's only like 6 o'clock at night and I'm exhausted. I'm like, what is going on? Well, I know I got to talk to her because she's leaving first thing in the morning before I get up. I'm like, man, I don't feel like talking right now. And the advice maybe I'm not going to do is not going to be that good. She comes in the house. She was out on the phone. And I can just see the look on her face. And I say, hey, you want to go for a walk? And she says, yeah. So me and Dianne and her, we go for a walk. And out on this walk, she just starts opening up. She starts crying. Well, guess what? My energy's coming in. Guess what? The Spirit's moving through me. Guess what? I'm laying down some fire coaching at this moment, just pouring into her about certain things. And I'm having to tell her some very hard things that she needed to hear. But I did it. I had to show up. Well, on the way back, I'm breathing fire into her, and I'm just like, this, and this, and this. And I grab her hands, and I say, we need to pray. So we huddle up, the three of us, and we're praying, and I'm just laying down the gauntlet in prayer. And I'm laying down one of those spiritual prayers, like, yo, like heavens are moving right now. Then we get inside, and I say, hey, you feel like you need to receive Jesus into your life? She said, let's do it. I huddle up with my kids and my wife, and my kids get to see one of the biggest coaches in the U.S. ask Jesus into her heart. But had I not shown up, what do you think would have happened? I was too tired. Change this person's life. But because of her network is so big, now she's changing their lives because of this. Well, you know who saw this was my kids. They're going to be able to remember for the rest of their life that their dad led so-and-so to Christ in the living room of our house. And I'm going to be able to tell them, kids, I was exhausted that night and I didn't feel like showing up, but I did. And so the reason I'm telling you this is because most people don't want to do what it takes to build trust in their lives. And you're like, what do those stories have to do with rebuilding trust? Well, one, for me, that's just trusting God. But two, because I'm showing up. And when you show up, good things happen. When you show up, no matter you're tired or anything, good things happen. And here's the thing. I'm about to give you some action steps that need you to show up. And when you do these things, good things happen. Because you're going to prove to yourself you're a winner and you're a man of your word, woman of your word, whoever's listening to this. But you're going to prove to your spouse that you do everything you say. Most people think it's like, well, I'm just going to not cheat anymore, and that's how they're going to know I'm not a cheater. No, that just proves that you're a good person doing the average thing that you should be doing. But if you're still acting the same way, they're going to not believe you or love on you. But when you do things differently, good things happen. And so this is what I'm saying. For the next 30 days, write down 7 things that you're going to do every day. Here's some ideas. Reading a chapter in the Bible. Doing 30 minutes of intentional movement every day. Eating a specific strict diet. Reaching out to one friend and encouraging them every day. Like literally come up with 7 things that you need in your life. No porn, whatever it may be, no drinking, all of these things, and be like for 30 straight days that you have to do all of them or you fail. It's not like, well, I missed one of them, but I did all the other 6, so that's good enough. No, you fail if you miss one. But not only that for yourself, tell your spouse, I am going to do all 7 of these things for the next 30 days, and I'm not going to miss one of them for the next 30 days. They're going to know you, and they're going to say, yeah, right. And the reason I know they're going to say, yeah, right, is 1, you've already broken their trust, and 2, 99% of people these days can't do anything, one thing for 30 straight days, let alone 7. So you're taking the bull by the horns here and saying, let's go. Tell them every single night before we go to bed, ask me if I did them. Be truthful. Be truthful, because if you lie about it and they find out you actually didn't do those things, you're breaking trust through a trust-building exercise. Be truthful. You have to tell them the truth. And you know you'll be lying. And when you know you lie and you lie to somebody, that makes you feel a million times worse than actually getting away with it. So you got to be truthful. So do all those for 30 days and watch what happens in your life. Then, if you do those for 30 days, one, you'll be so proud of yourself, but so will they. Will it move the mountains? Here's the thing. This is one thing that I've realized with the people that we work with in our program. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything here and say, man, people come in 2 weeks, their lives are changed. I've seen it happen. But the average rate is around 90 days that I see this giant uptick where they're getting growth, but usually that's not enough for people. They're not willing to keep going because they're like, man, I'm getting growth, but I need like these big things. I gotta be able to like have like all this. That's why people on weight loss journeys throw in the towel because they want to lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks. But when they just keep going with those little ones, at about the 3-month mark, they get big ones. But bang, their spouse is noticing it. So what I'm telling you is just keep being consistent for 30. Then at the 30, say, babe, I'm going to make this 90. Then say a year and do it. Do you do that for a year? 7 things every day for a year without missing one? Your life will change. How do I know it happened in mine? How do I know it happened in Dianne's? The day Dianne's dad died, she still did her list. And she was close with her dad. She had to fly up there to be with her family during that day. Got it done. Well, who do you think Dianne became because of that? So strong, so powerful. I'm here on a podcast telling people around the world about it. And I've coached people around the world about that specific day. Had she taken that day off and nobody would have ever batted an eye, guess what? I don't have a story to tell. Guess what? She's proven bigger. When you show up no matter what. Here's a Bible story about that. John the Baptist, when he had his head cut off, Jesus was told, and that was the only person on earth at that time that believed, that knew Jesus' mission to the fullest. Everybody else was like just couldn't comprehend what he was laying down, but they were following him, but they couldn't really understand. John the Baptist knew. Well, here's the thing. Now he gets his head cut off. That's Jesus' like firstborn cousin, blood cousin. Only person who really knows him. He did life with him since he was a kid. And now his head's on a platter. Jesus is distraught. It says he got in a boat and went to the other side of the lake. But when he got to the other side of the lake, he was met by a multitude of people. And when he got met by that multitude of people, he could have told them, guys, hey, one of the closest people in my life just was killed. I'm going to go off and have some solitude for a little bit, a couple days. I'll be back. I'll preach and heal you guys then. He didn't do that. He was justified to do it, but he didn't. He went and performed miracles, signs, and wonders at that moment. And because he did that, lives are changed. Because he did that, here we are today. So what I'm saying is he showed up in the face of adversity. You show up in the face of adversity, whether you're tired, hungry, whatever it may be, sick, death, whatever, you show up. And when you show up, you build that trust back. That's how you become somebody that your spouse is like, this person's different. You know how you know why they think you're different? Because it's so easy to win these days. So easy. 99% of them, especially Americans, I mean, it's different. Maybe I don't know about the world, but Americans, 99% of them, dude, they don't show up for anything. They all want a stimulus check. They all want the easy road. They don't want anything. And even if you don't want the stimulus check, guess what? You're that person who's probably a little bit overweight. How do I know? 65% of Americans are obese. 97% of Americans have a physical or mental illness. So I know that. It's not me being a jerk. When you show up, you stand out because most people don't want to stand out these days. They want to do the bare minimum. But when you do things 30 days, most people won't do it. Do it 60 or then 90, then a year. Dude, your life will change because you'll have developed so much discipline. Others will be seeing you and changing. Your kids, your wife, your coworkers, your employees, whoever that may be, are going to see. I have a friend who literally posts a picture every day of him making his bed. Why? Because when he was in prison, and now he's one of the biggest speakers on the speaker circuit, when he was in prison, and he was a heroin addict and homeless for 3 years, guess what? He didn't brush no teeth. He didn't make no bed. He was homeless. But when he got to prison, he started with just getting up every morning and brushing his teeth. Then it was making his bed. Well, you know why he started making his bed every day? He saw another inmate who made their bed every single day at a specific time. Dude, that was that person's hero at the moment. And imagine how low that is, that there's another inmate who's making their bed, and that's the person you're looking up to. But at the same time, that shows you that we're all capable of changing lives. And so he saw that and he did it. And guess what? He started making his bed, brushing teeth, making his bed. Then the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. He's still doing those things now. Obviously, brushing your teeth, everybody does. But not when you're in those situations. Making your bed, I guarantee you, it's pretty low population that actually make their bed every single day. But then you start adding in the other disciplines. He saw an inmate, and that other inmate didn't know he was making an impact in this world. You know who knows you're making an impact in this world? You. You know who you're making an impact in this world, because now you're hearing stories about people watching. You know how many people message me and I have no idea who they are, and they'll reference something from a long time and they'll go, hey man, when you said that, it stuck with me. And I was like, really? When did I was like, man, that was so long ago. They're like, man, that really stuck with me. But I put out these videos and I just like, sometimes I think to myself, X amount of people signed up this week in our program, or X amount of people didn't sign up this week in our program. I'm not thinking about the thousands that are taking in this like podcasts or content, and it's changing their lives. So just understand that your small stuff every day is changing lives, let alone your marriage. Rebuild it back by doing that, showing your character. Don't break character. Become that person. I was not always a disciplined person. Believe me, I was the farthest thing from it. And now that's my love language. That's how you stand out. And when you stand out and you build in discipline, your wife will notice, others will notice, you will notice, and good things will happen. So do those for 30 days. And I'm going to challenge you. Message me on Instagram. Tommy McAllister. Look the name up on there. That's my Instagram. I got the blue check mark, so you know that's me. Don't be no fake accounts. But go on there and message me. Hey, man, I listened to that podcast, and I did that, and it changed my life. Let me know. And believe me, I'm going to champion you. So do that and watch your life change. Be patient, because 30 days may not do it enough. Then 90 is when the uptick. But let's say it's not even 90. Don't stop. But don't just add in habits and not change your heart, because what's in your heart become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your character, and your character is you. Let it change your heart. When your heart changes, good things change. So, put this in play. If anybody needs coaching, you know where to find me. Look us up on highlevelhusband.com. Message me. That's the best place to do it, through Tommy McAllister on Instagram. Reach out. We got one-on-one exclusive stuff. We got some real entry-level stuff. Do it on your own stuff that will change your life. That's phenomenal. You just don't get the one-on-one access from me, but you get to come to some group calls, which are really amazing. I bring like a sermon every week that I give to people, and you get to ask some questions and things like that. It's really cool. So whatever you need, I'm here for. And if you just need this, that's amazing too. Either way, Father, I ask you just to go into these people's lives today, who are listening to this, and change their hearts, and let their actions change. Let their marriage change. Let the kingdom change because of that. We love you. Have an amazing day, guys.